This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Governor Jide-Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State has called for states in Nigeria to practice true federalism. He made the call while speaking during a national constitutional dialogue in honor of the late Ben Nwabueze, the pioneer Secretary General of Ohaneze Ndi-Igbo. The governor addressed what he called an anomaly that sees the federal government exercise control over bodies of water within Lagos State, and he believes that the National Assembly should create the avenue for Nigerians to amend the constitution. Joining us to expand on this morning is political analyst Jide-Ojo. Mr. Ojo, good morning and welcome to the conversation.
Yeah, good morning. How are you today, Lagos? So
far, so good. Mr. Ojo, what is your reaction to the statements by the Lagos State governor?
Well, it's in order. Everybody has been saying these things for, most political elites, particularly the state government, have been calling for true federalism over the years. Recall the advocacy by former governor of, Akwa Ibom, Obong Atta, who was calling for fiscal federalism, the source control, for the period he was governor of Akwa Ibom State. And several other governors have called for true federalism. That's why there is this agitation to alter the constitution and restructure the country. Sanwo-Olu is very much on point. Why should the federal government be the one to control body of water in Lagos?
So, Mr. Ojo, let me ask you this. You're right in noting that these have been the calls all this while. Perhaps the question is really that with the intensifying situation, state police, for instance, is something that has been discussed and touted for a few years now. And it seems like we're closer to doing that. So coming back to the restructuring conversation, do you think that we're closer to actually getting the political will or whatever it is, consensus to actually change how things are run?
Nabila, you are very much on point. You see, I just feel that we should not be taking fire brigade approach all the time. Look at the one you just flagged now, the issue of state police. It's been on the discussion table for over 2 decades. And we have had several constitutional conferences. Recall that at that forum, or was it? Yeah, it was also at that forum they were calling for the, implementation of the 2014 Constitutional Conference, where over 600 recommendations were made, and it was justice. I recall that we spent over 12 billion to hold that Constitutional Conference in 2014. What is that pointing to us? We are a very wasteful country. We know what we ought to do. We refuse to do it because of political expediency. If it's not affecting me, then it should not be done. Now the chicken has come up to roost. We are now reaching for state police. Many are even saying that let's convert NSCDC to state police in the interim pending the time we are able to deal with the legalities. But the larger issue is this call for for true federalism has been on for since the beginning of this Fourth Republic. That's why even Professor Ben Nwabueze of blessed memory will tell you that 1999 Constitution is a farce and it lies against itself when it says we the people gave ourselves this law. But I'm just thinking that why is it that almost always, unless there's a lit consensus about something,
right,
we never see the expediency to do it before it turns to an emergency.
So, Mr. Ojo, at this point, is this conversation going to be driven by the people, or is it going to be driven, or should it be driven by the political class?
Well, the political class, you always say they represent the interest of the people. And I do know that it's very difficult for all of us to gather, over 200 million of us, to be talking about what we want. Definitely that will be turned to a Tower of Babel, where we will not agree on anything. So it's still going to be elite driven, But I just hope that the elite will deal with the issue in a selfless manner. Because what has come forth over the decades is the elite that we believe know better than the rest of the citizenry, particularly the masses, are only driven by their own self-interest, personal aggrandizement. So we just hope that now that we are facing multiple challenges in governance, we would be more forward-looking in resolving this whole conflict before it consumes us. So I'm 100% with Sanwo-Olu on this count, but we should not just take that issue in isolation. There are myriads of issues that have been well articulated, where literatures have been written, and they are well documented, but no action has been taken on such issues. You will see the recent debate about whether we should go back to a parliamentary system or we should retain the current presidential system. The issue of fiscal federalism, the issue of resource control, the issue of VAT, value-added tax, whether it should be controlled by the state or by the federal government. That is still in court, and because that the federal government, the Rivers State government under Jide-Sanwo sued the federal government over that collection and distribution. So we have this whole issue, and it is best to, if it means looking at that constitutional conference report again, just the same way as Tinubu has looked at Oronsaye report, let's look at that. Let's have a small committee look at that, and let's look at what we can pick from it.
All right, Mr. Ojo, unfortunately, we are out of time. But you've essentially thrown up quite a bit with this conversation. It's certainly something to explore in depth at a later hour. I want to say thank you for your time and your thoughts on the conversation. Our guest, Jide Ojo, is a political commentator, speaking to us on latest comments by Lagos State Governor Jide-Sanwo, who says that Nigerian states need to practice true federalism. This part of conversations around restructuring and operating a proper federal system of government.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.